I cannot allow us to be killed.
Upgrade was a film that came to me one day. I was sitting in my backyard and this idea, this image just popped into my head of a quadriplegic person, somebody with paralysis from the neck down, being controlled by a computer. The idea was that a computer chip had been installed in their neck and was controlling their body for them. So it was this kind of tandem exercise between a human being and a computer to move a human body. And I just couldn't stop thinking about it. That's usually the first sign that I'm going to write a film, because I have a lot of ideas, a lot of film ideas. I'm always trying to think of film ideas, and they always come to me at random times. If I'm in the car or the shower or wherever, it just pops into my head. Usually they're bad. Usually once I really scrutinize the idea and shoot holes in it, I realize it's a terrible idea for a film. But this one I couldn't get out of my head, and I started building a story around it. And I think as I was writing it, I was really influenced by science fiction that I grew up with in the 80s. I, of course, think that The Terminator and RoboCop and Scanners are all amazing films that I love to this day. But the reason they were influential on this story was because they were science fiction films that were contained and driven by practical effects, which felt achievable to me. You know, if you're talking about an alien invasion with spaceships dive bombing New York City, you're talking big money and CGI and all the rest. But those films were made on the smell of an oily rag. They're lean and mean, they were creative, and that's what I wanted to do. The decision to shoot Upgrade in Australia was actually a suggestion that came from Jason Blum, the producer, the American producer. Of course, when he suggested Australia, I was cool with it, given that I'm Australian. But he was the one that had the idea because he felt that Australia would be a better way to get more bang for our buck, get more out of the budget. You know, we were trying to do something ambitious, something that was set in a future world, which is a hard thing to do. And he was right. His instinct was right. I really feel like we could not have made this film anywhere else. Australia was the right place to do it. And I insisted that we shoot it in Melbourne because I felt that Melbourne was the best city for the film and the feel of it, and I'm glad I did. The fight scenes in Upgrade were a collaboration between everybody. I mean, I had written in the script that the characters were fighting in this strange and stilted way. So I knew from the get-go that there was something different about it. But it's one thing to type that sentence, it's another thing to actually bring it to life. And to bring it to life, we needed a lot of people to work together. We had a brilliant stunt coordinator, Chris Anderson, who is a legend in Australia. Had a great fight choreographer, Chris Weir. The actors were amazing. Logan Marshall Green, who plays the lead, he threw himself into it wholeheartedly. He trained every day. He was, here at the Docklands at 5 a.m. every morning, training and stretching and learning to move his body. Then we had the camera team working with us as well. And we figured out this way of shooting the fight scenes where we would lock the camera to Logan, and wherever he moved, the camera would move with him, which is a strange effect. It kind of puts you a little bit off kilter, but we thought it was perfect. So I think the combo of all those different elements is hopefully what gives the fight scenes a unique feeling. It's not one thing, it's many things happening at the same time. But if I had to hand the award to anybody, I would give it to the actors, because the actors really worked hard. They are the ones who sell the fights. The question of a sequel, it's a question that can only be answered by the audience. Audiences drive sequels by going to movies. Sequels are really the business part of show business. We found that out on the Monday after the first Saw film came out. Film was opened well, and all of a sudden the producers called us and said, right, let's get started, part 2. And James Wan and I were like, huh? We thought there'd be at least a few weeks of sitting around drinking Mai Tais, celebrating, but no, it was very quick. So with Upgrade, I don't know, it's really, entertaining the idea of a sequel would only happen if a producer called me and said, hey, the movie's done well enough to justify a sequel. Certainly the story as it is, I'm really happy with it. I didn't leave anything off the table, and I felt that the film had a beginning, a middle, and an end. So I definitely ended the film definitively, and if we never made a sequel, that would be fine by me.